Petals is a series of photographs of the most powerful part of the female anatomy.
I think it's amazing. I was really honored to be in it, to be part of it. The first time I saw a set of the pictures that he had taken, I could identify. It's like, oh, that's woman. I'm almost 30, and it's ridiculous that I would still say it, but that there's still an element of shame that comes with having a vulva and having a vagina for some reason.
So many women feel very ashamed of their genitals, and then therefore they can't really enjoy sexual expression.
And I think it's probably been very, very difficult for a lot of women to like their pussy. I mean, when did your mother ever tell you that now this is this wonderful thing? This is your pussy, and it's this wonderful thing, and or anything like that. That mostly it's avoided. It's not talked about.
My mom never said vulva. She never said vagina. It was always that down there, if it was referred to it.
I've really never really examined myself so thoroughly before, and especially at a moment when I'm completely excited, I don't whip out a mirror and look at myself. Right?
Exactly.
So when Beck said, "This is you," I was like, how was I? I was so excited to see that this part of me is so beautiful, and it was so turned on, and to see what my turn-on energy looks like photographically was a charge.
There wasn't a good word to describe what we were talking about. Vulva seems so clinical, and genitalia, nobody uses that, and there was a lot of slang words, but depending who I was talking to, it was hard to use the slang word because it would have its connotation to it. And when the women would come and we would work on it, I would always ask them, do you have a name for your genitalia? What do you refer to it as? And most women did not have a term that they were comfortable using. And one of the women, halfway through the project, we were talking, and she says, well, it's my flower. They're my flowers. And it really dawned on me when I laid them out and looked at all of them. They looked like flowers, and they looked like the petals of flowers. And so I started referring to them as your petals, and I noticed it really made it a lot more palatable. And when we would talk on the phone and make the appointment, and I would say, I photograph, your female genitalia, your petals, women seemed to own that and take that, and they started calling it that.
First person probably to try to amplify the theme that the genitals are beautiful was Betty Dodson.
When I went across the country with slides of female genitals in the early 70s to colleges and universities and feminist groups, it's amazing I didn't get hung or shot or, and I just went right through it, sailed right through it. And it was like, but I knew one thing, I knew to leave town quickly. I remember I had this conversation with my partner back in the 60s when he was really my first post-marital lover that introduced me to my own cunt. It was outrageous. It was like I had been an artist for years and years, but I'd never really looked at, when you draw a nude model, it's a triangle of hair. That's all, what? I don't know. I didn't look at mine. No, I looked at mine when I was a kid, and it was definitely deformed. So I remember the time he was going to go down on me. This is my, I'm having this great sex life. And I'm concerned about that. Well, I got through that, and after I had a nice orgasm and I was kind of mellowed, he said, you have a beautiful pussy. I'd like to look at it. And he reaches for the lamp and his glasses, and I freak out because I'm saying, I'm deformed because one of my inner lips is longer, and I knew I had stretched it from too much childhood masturbation. So I said, I really rather you wouldn't. And he said, what's the matter? And I told him my dreaded secret that I stretched, I had deformed my cunt from childhood masturbation. He said, oh, honey, it was so sad. Here I was 35 years old, and I thought I was, all those years I thought I was genitally deformed. So he goes in his closet and he pulls out a stack of Split Beaver magazines. And we start going through them. And at first I'm going, oh, God, those poor women, victims, terrible. Oh, how embarrassing to, he's like, oh. Then as I keep looking, I'm going, oh, and I am an artist, and I'm visually trained. Within 6 or 7 pages, I was like, oh, look at this one. Look at the variation. Look at this. Ah, here's one just like mine. Another. And in 30, 40 minutes, I was healed. And I'd been in therapy too, and it did nothing. So I got that if this were true for me, this is going to be true for millions of other women. And that's kind of when I started my crusade, really, to enlighten women about their own sexuality. And for me, it was you examine your genitals, you see what they look like, and then you learn how to touch them and get pleasure from them. Then you go have sex with a partner.
One of the things I love about the Petals book is it's a chance for both men and women to understand how beautiful the vulva is and how much women really need to feel validated about that. The first god was actually a goddess because what the people saw is this miracle of giving birth. There is some good anthropological information, but we've had to piece stuff together, and there's still lots of folks that go, oh, this isn't true. There weren't real cultures that worship the goddess, which is kind of amazing that there's still people that think that. What we understand, as best we can, is that they honored erotic energy for its spiritual perspective, its ability to bring us closer to union with Source, let's just say that. The most sacred understanding of the vulva is that it is the entrance and the exit from life and death.
The woman's tapuli, this is the gateway. You need to pay homage to the gateway before you enter the temple. And before you just jump in the sack and have intercourse, you say, I have to look at you. I need to admire the beauty of who you are. So it would make men a much better lover to the feminine if they just had simple education.
I would say after doing over 100 of these, there were less than a half a dozen women who came in and were proud and owned it and loved it. And I definitely noticed a correlation. These women seemed to have a powerful self-being, and they seemed more loving and caring and happy and just more balanced. And that's why I love your teachings and just so simply give back such a powerful part of life.
And part of it is, first we have to educate ourselves, then we have to be willing to educate each other. And what's wonderful about the body of teachings, the Shulakwe Kwadoshka, which comes from the ancient Native American Mayan and Toltec, observing the tapuli, which is the female term. For instance, this is called a dancing woman. Now this is 60% of all women. From her clitoris to her opening is about 4 fingers. So what that means is, when this woman is entered, unless the man is leaning right on top of her forward, her clitoris will not get stimulated. And this woman's G-spot is usually located very deep and tilted up. And I don't know any man's cock that's shaped in this direction. So this woman has a difficult time having orgasms with intercourse. And if she doesn't use a vibrator or finger stimulation to the clitoris, for the most part, it feels wonderful to make love to her man, but she doesn't know what the big deal is about because she doesn't have orgasms. 60% of women. She's called a dancing woman because she can learn how to have all of the types of orgasms if she's willing to educate herself. This woman oftentimes is so self-conscious because her lips are very thick and they protrude out. So as a young girl, this woman oftentimes feels like she damaged herself. This is what is called a buffalo woman. She sits in the west of the medicine wheel where the earth is. So she's very earthy. This woman has a very shallow cave, and she tends to be quite wide. So another place this woman gets damaged is that when she makes love, if the man she's with does not have a good thick tapili, which is the male term for penis, if he's one of the smaller men, if she doesn't know how to use her PC muscles and kind of grab him, then she has a wide cave, so he doesn't have much feeling. Well, as before boys become mature men, oftentimes in their unkindness, they will say, "My God, how many men have you fucked? You know, you're huge inside." And this, it crushes her because this is how God, Great Spirit, made her. This woman has almost no lips at all.
What a difference.
And this woman's cave is very, very deep. This woman's G-spot is located within the first knuckle, finger, and it's right there. So the minute the man's tapili enters her, he's stimulating her clitoris and her G-spot. So within 2 minutes, this woman is in an orgastic state. The wonderful thing is this woman is very, very orgasmic and she loves intercourse. She just loves to get it on. She needs to learn to slow down and make it deeper and more satisfying.
This is the slideshow that caused an absolute phenomenal breakthrough in feminism. So I get up on the stage and I start saying, now here we have a two-tone cunt. This is the brown outer lips. And then I said, and then we have the, I know you want to look at it longer, but keep it moving. Then we have sort of like Art Deco, very simple cunt. And I got to the third, and here we have Renaissance. We have a Renaissance cunt with drapery. And this big bull dyke in the front row stands up. We object to you using that term. We've heard enough of that from men. And I went, I'm sorry the word offends you. It happens to turn me on. And then I went on and did 50 more cunts. Nick?
Usually, when men look at vulva, they don't really look at it as a beautiful thing that they can appreciate. It's more of what can I do to it so I can get pleasure out of it. And when they go through the images of vulva, they sit and they look and they become really curious. And they go, oh my God, I actually don't know how my wife's vulva looks like. I mean, some men would say that. And they would go, you know, I am going to go home tonight and I really want to look at her vulva and appreciate it. I mean, you know, she delivered my 3 beautiful babies and I cannot believe myself that I don't even know the beauty of her vulva. And that's something very special to me.
When a woman appreciates herself, accepts herself, there is a power. That power does not challenge the masculine. That power is what, when the male and female come together in that place of self-worth, self-confidence, self-appreciation, they stand strong together.
I want to encourage women to really allow themselves to go through the process. It's a journey to reclaim their sexuality, to reclaim their yonis.
First they'll say, oh, they're all different. Now that's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Then they'll start to look at the different kind, and then they start to identify their own. And it's like now they fit into a range of beautiful. You go to the garden, you look at the flowers. You don't expect them to all look alike.
If it taught me anything, it taught me to take my fears and move past them and go for them, because on the other side of a fear is a real beautiful experience, and you're a better person for it. If I affect just one person so that they love themselves better and can project that back out into the world, I think that's the biggest gift a person can give.